Hello guys, welcome back. Today in this video tutorial we'll discuss about two Kubernetes objects, that is deployment and services, and we'll see how we can create our deployment object file, definition file, and service definition file, and then deploy into the Kubernetes cluster and create deployments. So what are the objects will be created? Here we are going to create deployments and services, and for services we are going to use NodePort service. So let's discuss more about these two objects, what is deployment and service. So if you see deployment provides declarative updates for pods and replica sets. So these are high level construct that define an application. Similarly for services, so Kubernetes services enable communications with various components within and outside of the application. So it helps us connect application together with other application or users. It provides loose coupling between microservices in our application. So once we create the container or once we create the pod, how we'll connect those containers or pods from outside world, means from browser, from internet, how we can connect our applications running inside the container in the pod. Okay, so basically there are three types of services in Kubernetes, that is NodePort, cluster IP, and load balancer. So in this project we'll create a NodePort service and we'll connect our applications from the outside. So let's start. Two definitions files I have created, one for deployment and the other one for service. So if you see the deployment file, and remember when you start or creating any definitions file for any object, you have to start with these four basic components like API's version, kind, metadata, and specification, that is spec. So the API version is different for each object. Remember, you have to write it accordingly. For deployment, we are going to use apps/v1. And similarly, for deployment, the kind is deployment, D should be in uppercase, and deployment. And you have to write the metadata. So the metadata section contains the name of the deployment. Here we have given Tomcat Web deployment and the labels. So I'll tell you where we'll use these labels. I have given two labels here, app and type, Tomcat Web and frontend. Similarly, we have to write for specifications, for the deployment specification. Here I have used template. This inside the template we have to specify the pod information as well as the container information. So in the template sections I have given a metadata, and this metadata holds the name of the pod, that is Tomcat Web App pod, and it has also a label. And this label, we'll see how we can, using selector, we can use this label to connect to the pod. Similarly, inside this specification and template, we have another specification. And remember, this specification is for our containers. Okay, so here in the container section, we have to give the name of the container and the image, which image we need to use to create the container. You can give the default or inbuilt image, whatever you can get it from your Docker Hub registry, provide it here, or you can give your own created application image, Docker image, and put it here. So here I have given the Docker Hub Ranjit, which is my Docker registry, and there I have placed this image, the version 11. Okay, and here I have used replicas 2, so it will create two replica sets, like two pods will be created, and the selector for this replica is type I have given, and the match label I have given frontend, the type. Okay, so let's see what is the definitions file for services. If you go and see the services, similarly for service also we have to use these four components like API version, kind, metadata, and specification. So for this API version will be v1, kind, service, S is uppercase, and the metadata. The metadata section here is only sample given as name Tomcat service, and under specification we can see here the type we have used it here node port. Okay, so I have used it here node port, and in the port sections we have to specify the port details. So the target port is 8080 and the port is 8080, because the target port is nothing but your container port. And here, as I am using Tomcat web server, so default port of Tomcat server is 8080. So this is the target port, and the port which is going to be exposed is 8080. And to the node port, so through this node port we are going to access the applications from the internet. Okay, so here I have given 30080. So there is a range of node ports between 30,000 to 32,767, which is a range between this port, and you have to give any one port to connect your applications using NodePort service. Okay, so let's see how these labels and selectors is getting created, getting attached to each other. So here, if you see here, we have two definitions files, one for service and the other one for deployment. Here you can see the labels, whatever is given for the pod, that is Tomcat web app and front end. The type is front end. The same thing is being allocated here using the selector section in the service definition file. So this Tomcat web app will connect to the selectors in the service. And remember, as I told, this node port we having 30,000 to 32,767. The port range is available for the NodePort service to connect the applications. Hope you understood all this. So let's start and execute this deployment file. Okay, I have kept all these definitions files under this folder. Okay, and you can see here I have Tomcat service.yaml file and tomcat.yaml file, which is the deployment file, and this is the service file. So let me create the deployment file first. Okay, so to use and create the deployment files, we can use kubectl. Okay, create. The first time if you are going to create, you can use create-f, or you can use kubectl apply-f for the deployments to apply. Okay, and then give the deployment file name. Suppose here my deployment file name is tomcat.yaml. Hit enter. So if the deployment is not created, it will create the first time. You can see it here, it is created. Okay, now similarly, if you want to see what are the objects been created by this deployment, just use kubectl get all, hit enter, and you can see here, as mentioned in the replica set 2, we have 2 pods created over here, and both are one pod and is running, so both are in running status. And you can see it here, we have one deployment. Okay, we have one deployment is created over here, and also we have replica set, one replica set. We have 2 desired and 2 current, but so far we don't have the services created. As our pod is running, we cannot able to connect the pod. Okay, for that what we have to do, we have to create our NodePort service. So for that we have to just use kubectl create -f and the service definition file name. Hit enter, and you can see here one service is created. Now if we do kubectl get all, will find the service also. See, the service also gets created and it is redirected to 30,080 port. Now the question is how we can connect to our container, okay, to our applications. How we can do? Just using describe command, you can find the load balancer ingress of the service. So this is our service. What we can do, kubectl describe service from, you can use SBS and the service name. So you can see here all the details about the service name, and you can find one load balancer ingress, which is the local host. Okay, so using this local host and the port 30,080, we can access our application. Local host port, and I can use 30,080, and our application will be login web app. Okay, so hit enter. See, our application is now up and running. So we can access this our application using this 30,000 port 30,080 and the application name login web app. Now you understood how we can create write our own definitions file, deployment and service definitions file, and using NodePort services how we can connect or access our application inside the container. If you have any doubt or any concerns, please do write me in the comment section below. I'll try to answer your questions. If you have not subscribed my channel yet, please do subscribe now so that you'll get notified when I add more videos on Kubernetes or Docker on DevOps. Thank you.